Today is Friday, August 30th, and you are listening to episode number 5 of the DogHouse podcast.
From DogHouseSystems.com, this is the DogHouse podcast.
We'd like to welcome everybody back to another episode of the DogHouse podcast. And once again, I have Abby and Lorenzo joining me. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
I am so glad that you guys are here. And a little bit later on, we will have Waldo joining us as well. This week, we're going to be discussing AI, and we wanted to talk specifically how it ties back to PC gaming. And we're also going to be talking with Waldo about the new World of Warcraft expansion. He's already hit level 80, as I'm sure there's probably a good number of you guys that have been playing it, may have already done so, but he's going to give some of his insights on the game and what his thoughts are. So definitely looking forward to that. And we'll have a quick tech tip of the week at the end of our episode. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in.
Okay. This week in Bark Bits, we're talking AI in gaming. So the AI popping up way more in the world, from AI detection in, homework turn-ins to large tech companies coming out with software updates with AI built in. We figured we'd cover, here's how AI is going to start revolutionizing the PC gaming industry. So AI is going to help cut down on the game environment build times. So these builders are going to be able to create vast environments and help create different experiences for players with background music and terrain-based sounds to really immerse players within the game.
I'm glad you mentioned that. You're talking about the game environment build times.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that stuff is traditionally has been so repetitive, yet it had to be done. And with AI coming into play and being able to generate that, for them, that lets them be able to focus more on hopefully the content and the storyline. Exactly. So that is exciting.
Mm-hmm. It'll also help with non-player characters. So NPCs coming out in games with AI will be able to have a chance to exhibit complex behaviors, even allowing for real-time voice interactions. So players will be able to interact and more, challenging the player to adapt and engage players way more in the storytelling. AI will also be able to help customize experiences based on behaviors of players. So AI will be able to learn and adjust difficulty levels to match skills, to suggesting purchases in-game and modifications to have. AI outside of games will be able to help run millions of simulations to help catch glitches and bugs and be able to kind of polish the final product, making it way easier for these developers. Another interesting one is it'll be able to monitor players in real-time multiplayer games to not only detect but counteract cheating. And matchmaking algorithms will pair players with competitors of similar skill levels in those types of games.
Yeah, and one example of AI being used in games that you may have already seen or come across and may have wondered, what is that setting, is NVIDIA DLSS 3, which utilizes the hardware built into RTX 4000 series graphics cards to enhance image quality and boost frame rates in selected titles. The technology works by first training image data in NVIDIA's data center on their servers, and then providing that model data as a small file as part of your driver, usually downloaded through GeForce Experience. Your GPU then uses this information, or the model data, information from the game engine and the actual tensor cores and optical flow accelerator hardware built into the card to allow games to be rendered first at a lower resolution and then upscale to a higher resolution frame by frame before it being displayed on your monitor, even generating new frames to boost frame rate even further. DLSS 3.5, which is just recently released, improves this even further and introduces ray reconstruction to further enhance image quality when ray tracing is enabled. With all of that said, enable DLSS, better performance with the same hardware you have, and higher frame rates.
And I'll tell you what, it's noticeable, and where that could really come into play is if you have, a slightly older video card. Speaking of which, DLSS would apply to folks that have the 2000 series NVIDIA RTX series cards and later, correct?
DLSS 1 and 2 apply to older cards. DLSS 3 and 3.5 are exclusive to 4000 series cards.
That's true. That's a good point. Very good point. I was pretty impressed seeing some of the games that we did test. And then that's another point. Not all games necessarily will work with DLSS. So that'll be an in-game setting that you'll have to go and take a look. But where it does work, it's pretty doggone impressive. And that's on the gaming side of things. And deviating just slightly, if we get into for the creatives, I know Lorenzo, both of us have used this product before from Topaz, but the AI or Denoise AI was the product name at the time. I believe it's simply called Photo AI today. But some of the Denoise algorithms that they use, the results are just phenomenal. The cool thing with Topaz Labs is they are using the tensor cores with NVIDIA to be able to take advantage and quickly be able to do the computations. And I've done some photography that I had to really crank up the ISO, which unfortunately created a lot of noise. But after running it through that, it was pretty amazing how much noise was removed. So that being said, like we'd mentioned before, on the gaming side of things, that is a setting that you will need to make sure that you do have it enabled. Again, not all games will have it, so you'll have to actually go into the graphics settings of the game, look for it, and then you would want to toggle that on to take advantage of it. As far as getting into different quality settings for games, that's really going to come down to the type of components that you have in your system. So if you are using, let's say, an older setup, performance mode might be the best way to get you the rates that you want to be at. So you might have to scale back a little bit on the really good looking stuff, but at least that way you could try to keep your frame rates up at 60 frames if possible. But let's say you are one of the lucky ones that have, let's say, a 4080 or a 4090, and you want to be able to see it, full blown, then at that point you might want to go to the ultra quality settings. In general, we might recommend balance. That way you get a best of both worlds, and ultimately you're getting, that good solid frame rate. One of the things to keep in mind is NVIDIA does have the GeForce Experience. And when you're working with that or looking at that interface, it'll also remind you if you do need to update your GPU driver. So that's a good way to just kind of double check, make sure you do have the latest tested drivers. And another feature of GeForce Experience, if you're really not good at knowing what things you might want to tweak, like when it comes into anti-aliasing and all those type of things, they actually do a really nice job of recommended settings, which you could click on it and it will go in and actually set up your settings for you. And from there, you could do some tweaks if needed and go from there.
Yeah, one quick note to add on to the end of that is the quality settings for DLSS actually usually refer to reductions in the resolution the game will be rendered at as a base. So turn up the eye candy as much as you want and try performance. That'll render the game at a much lower resolution. And if your frame rates are above where you need them to be, try turning it up a little bit.
This week on Tech Treats, we have Waldo joining us today to talk about his experiences with the new World of Warcraft expansion, The War Within. And before we go there, I just want to introduce Waldo. He has been with us for 12 years now. He joined us back in 2012, and he heads up our support, and he really does. He brings a wealth of information from the hardware side of things, networking, software, you name it. So we're really fortunate to have Waldo on board. But at the same time, he plays World of Warcraft, which is a bonus. He loves gaming. And in fact, let me ask you this, Waldo. Do you recall when you first started playing World of Warcraft?
Hi, guys. Yes, I believe it was in 2009 or 2010, right after Vanilla.
Okay.
It was between the Burning Crusade, and before the Wrath of the Lynch King.
Gotcha.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, so it might have been around 2007, 8, somewhere in that. Yeah, it's hard to keep track.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe it's been 10 expansions now.
Yeah, almost 20 years.
So you've had a lot of experience with the game. So one question I have for you is, from gameplay changes made to the expansion, I guess with this one, what are you most excited about? With there's some new changes that came with it, but is there anything kind of specific that stands out in your mind?
Yeah, one of them that stands out is the way that you can build rep with the different factions, and you don't have to grind on your alt. So basically, all the rep is spread across your main 4 characters. So that's kind of cool, because otherwise you got to go to your other alt and then restart building. So yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, in general, it could be a huge time sink, but if you like to have a lot of alts, and I do, that's always been one of my problems is you start and it's like you have to start all over, and it could be a grind. Exactly. So that is one of the features that was really talked about, and I think that's going to be a favorite for a lot of people. When it comes to the flying, we were kind of talking about, we were curious how it was going to be. So did you find it to be pretty similar to how it was introduced to Dragonflight? Did it kind of pretty much carry over to the new expansion?
It is. It's pretty much the same. You get to fly like in Dragonfly. You don't get to fly like the traditional way before. It seems like you're going to have to unlock that eventually by doing the achievements. But you can fly from the get-go. And I just don't know if you are new to the game. You had to kind of unlock the more points to have more flight distance. Right. Whereas in my case, where I've been playing the previous game, the previous expansion, I have all that unlocked. So for me, it's like just like Dragonfly.
You were able to take advantage of it right from the get-go and not have to go through all that leveling up, which was good. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. So have you had an opportunity to do any dungeon runs or raids at this point?
I have done a dungeon. I haven't done any raid. I don't think the raid's available right at the moment. I might be wrong, but dungeon wise, yes, I did one, and I did it. You got 2 ways. You can solo it in case you want, if you don't have the time or if you don't feel comfortable playing with the other teams or the other guys because you don't know the mechanic. So you can practice yourself like that, or you can just queue like traditional way with other players.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Have you played with the crabs instead of the spiders?
Crabs instead of the spiders.
Yeah, apparently there is a I don't know, what did Matt call?
They called it arachnophobia mode, where you can replace spiders with crabs.
Well, I mean, like the dungeons and even the caves, they have a bunch of spiders, but just to me, it's just like another target to kill.
Yep. For some reason, Abby is just big time afraid of them. So when Matt was talking last week, he said there's an arachnophobia. It's like a toggle, and you could turn it on. And basically, instead of being spiders, they're crabs.
Oh, I see. I see.
And Abby's shaking her head like, yes, definitely, definitely crabs.
Sense. That's why it didn't click on me. Like,
that's
okay. So now, but they're a bunch of spiders. That's for sure. Then I have not switched them.
I'm out. I'm out.
So another question, as someone who's barely played any WoW, if I wanted to get into the game, where do I start? I mean, there's almost 20 years of content.
Right. So
are you able to just jump right into this expansion?
I'm not sure about that. Maybe. But the cool thing about though is that you can do any of the other expansion. It doesn't really matter which one you want to start, and the location adjusts to your level. So you don't have to really start from the beginning. You can go in any of the other expansion, and you can pretty much bypass any of the other expansion because you get so much experience by doing like a small area. For instance, right now that I'm playing the War Within, I have in 2 main areas out of 4, I got to level 80. So I didn't have to go everywhere just to finish getting the max level. So you don't really have to, play from the beginning. You can play anywhere.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's good to know.
That's a nice change from the past because back when WoW first came out, it was, you had specific level areas that you'd have to go to. If you stepped out of one zone, got into another, you could be in a world of hurt. You could be like level 20, but you just stepped into a level 40 or 60.
Yeah.
So having that level up with you it's a pretty nice feature there. I'd say, you know, with all the different levels, now that you made it to 80, you had a chance to kind of go through all the different new areas of the expansion. Was there any zone or area that you really enjoyed?
So I haven't gone to the last one.
Okay.
Because it's kind of funny. It starts with an island and then you going down the hole like a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So I have gotten to the third level. I haven't got to the fourth one. The third level, the environment looks really nice, where they're like boat flying around. So it's kind of fun.
They put a lot of attention to detail to the areas. Nice.
Exactly.
So back in Battle for Azeroth, this probably goes back, 3 or 4 expansions, they introduced a war mode that some people really enjoy. I know Matt tried that, and I believe you have as well. You actually today even still do that. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, so war mode means you can be out on the wild with other players, and if you have that activate, you can PvP with others. If you don't feel comfortable PvPing, then you can toggle that off and nobody can target you. So you pretty much, you can do whatever you want. But if you enable it though, the beauty of it, they give you 15% XP bonuses. So you get more rewards by having the battle mode enable. And basically they're different content. Like one of them is like the war chest that there's this plane flying around and just drop it and everybody goes there trying to loot it. They'll all mayhem breaks loose. So it's kind of fun.
I always was too nervous. One time back, I got on a PvP server, and it's like you're constantly, I think after if you started a new character, once you got past, what was it, level 10 or maybe level 20?
Yeah.
And at that point, you were
out of your zone.
You're out of your, and you were just fair game.
Fighting for your life.
Essentially.
Pretty much.
And I'll tell you what, it added a different element to it. I mean, my heart rate was going up because I'm constantly looking over my back because I was nervous because I thought, man, I'm going to get nailed. But
I would be too.
But nowadays, the way I see it, I don't know if it depends on the round, but if you are, let's say, level 70, that you're just jumping in and everybody is level 80, they, for the most part, leave you alone.
Do they?
Yeah, they don't mess with you. You might see one guy here and there, but not that bad.
That's cool. So I guess my last question for you is with the questing and leveling up, at the end of the day, is it pretty much similar to all the previous expansions, or is there any new elements to that?
It's pretty much the same. You get your quest, you go and do the quest, get the rewards. But maybe because I have war mode on, the leveling seems to be faster than the previous expansions. Like I'm saying, I was able to get to level 80, whereas I remember in the back before, it would take like a whole week just to get to level, to the max level.
Exactly. And I think there is something to be said there because Abby, I think you read where this one guy leveled up how many?
He leveled up to 17 characters up to level 80 within the first couple of hours of early play.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I'm guessing.
I don't know how he did it, but I wasn't even doing any dungeons. I was just questing.
And it may come down to the flight mechanics. The fact that you can fly.
That too.
It used to be after they introduced flight in Wrath of the Lich King. When the next expansions came, they would ground you pretty much until you got up to a certain point.
Right. You had to unlock it.
Unfortunately, I guess you could say that kind of maybe causes people to be able to level up faster, but I think they're trying to add more to the game so that it's not just about getting to level 80, that there's more content.
Right.
And I think they're succeeding in that. So, well, Waldo, I appreciate you joining us today. Keep playing, and maybe we'll get you back on in the future as they introduce some new things, and we'll get some more of your thoughts.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
So this week, we have Black Myth Wukong, an action RPG game rooted in Chinese mythology, set out as the destined one to venture into challenges and marvels ahead, uncover the obscure truth beneath the veil of a glorious legend from the past. Reviews on Steam have been overwhelmingly positive. It was released August 19th and is $59.99 on Steam, or you can get it on Epic Games. And if you're not looking for something along those lines and you're looking for a little more casual game to play, you can check out a game called Just Crow Things. You are a little crow trying to prove herself in the world, where you can make friends, cause a little bit of chaos, and steal all the shiny trinkets you want. Each level is a sandbox full of fun items to discover and puzzles to solve. It was released this month on the 15th and has had very positive reviews. It's $19.99 on Steam.
That sounds like a game that would be fun to play. And Abby?
Yeah.
I think
it'd
you
be
should
one
play
that
it.
I
Yes.
would want to play. And then the Epic games for the week. Epic is offering the Fallout Classic Collection, which is Fallout, Fallout 2, and Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel. And if you are not familiar with Fallout, or you have somehow been living under a rock, Fallout is a post-apocalyptic role-playing game that allows players to explore the devastated ruins of a golden age civilization. There is a 17+ rating on this game. They also offer Wild Card Football, a fun pick-up-and-play arcade-style football game featuring 7v7 teams, team-focused gameplay with a unique wild card system that lets you change the course of the action in an instant with special power-ups and rule-breaking abilities.
Interesting. So this is, I take it, American-based football and
It is
not soccer?
not European football.
Okay. Okay.
It is American-based football. And then Humble Bundle still has a few bundles that we've mentioned before on the podcast available for purchase. This week for Pack Talk, we're going to give you a quick update from Tiberius, who has had static issues. After the podcast came out, he emailed us and was able to solve his monitor blinking issue after installing an anti-static mat under his pedals. The photo will be in our show notes for anyone that is also running into this issue.
So glad that we were able to help. Lorenzo, you had some great ideas, and really thankful for Tiberius for staying in touch with us and keeping us posted throughout this.
All right. Yeah, no, that's excellent. Glad that he was able to get that resolved. Today's quick tip is to keep your system clean. The best thing you can do is to dust out your system about once a month. And remember, when removing dust from your system, to make sure to stop any fans from spinning to avoid damage to the bearings inside the fan or the electric motor, and use a can of compressed air or an electric duster, not a vacuum. Static buildup is an issue with vacuums, and you may also, if you use a really strong vacuum, pull something off the board, and that would not be good.
Thank you for mentioning the part about making sure that you don't have the fan spinning too fast. I am embarrassed to say this, but one day we were in the back, and Lorenzo, I have to say, you are one of the kindest people on the face of the earth, because I had a compressed air blower, and I was like, oh, let me go ahead and show you how this works. It was one that I had ordered, and I started to, I think it was a heatsink fan, right?
I don't remember if it was a case fan or the heatsink fan, but yeah, you got it going pretty quick.
And then he was so kind. He just kind of put his finger, stopped it, and said, I don't think you really want to do that. And then went to explain that it actually generates electricity in the process. And I had no idea. So I'm mentioning this because I have a feeling not everybody will know that. Probably the majority of people will know it, but I did not.
I did not know that either. So that's a good tip to have.
Yeah, most may not go for electronics in general, but most motherboards on the fan header, I looked this up after we had the conversations, will have a diode to prevent current from flowing back into the board. But just in case it doesn't, better safe than sorry. And also, you don't want to overspin those and damage the bearings or the motor. So.
That too, both of those points. And I knew about the diode. I'm kidding. I didn't know anything about the diode. But thank you for mentioning that. And I figured at that point it'd be worth mentioning that again. So good.
Yeah, definitely. Always good to look out for everyone. And if you have a tech question on your mind, feel free to reach out.
Okay, so we're going to do something fun. So with the World of Warcraft, The War Within's recent release on Monday, we're going to do a giveaway.
Nice.
How fun. So we're going to give away a 2-month time card for World of Warcraft. For those of you that may not know, 60 days free. So that's about $30 that you get to keep, along with your choice of a Alliance or a Horde mug and keychain. So here's how to enter. Go to our show notes, and in there's a link to a contest page labeled DHS Giveaway. Click that, fill out your information, name, email, and if you'd like to leave your social media handle, go for it. And tell us what your favorite part about the new expansion is. And if you haven't gotten the expansion, just let us know what your favorite part of the game is. It's open now and will close Thursday at 11:59 p.m.
I'm so glad you said social media handle. I thought you were about to say social security number.
Please do not enter that.
Please and thank you. I think that's about all we've got for the podcast. So why don't you let our fine listeners know all the various ways that they can get in touch with us?
Yeah. You can email us at podcast@doghousesystems.com. You can leave us a voicemail at 214-810-4347, or you can reach out to us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, X, and Threads at Doghouse Systems.
All right. Thanks, Abby. And again, I believe this will wrap things up for this episode. Going into next week, we're looking forward to going into the game Black Myth Wukong a little bit more in detail. Lorenzo has had a chance to play a little bit, and over the next week, he plans on getting into it a little bit more. So we'll definitely be looking forward to his thoughts on the game. And we might have Matthew come on, if not this next episode, possibly a following one. He was excited about a sequel to the old game, World of Goo. A fun game that actually really kind of kickstarted it for the indie developers. It's an oldie. A number of you guys may have played it. I did. Matthew finished it way back in the day. Cute game, and I think he's looking forward to playing that. So we'll get his thoughts on that. And that should do us. So great podcast. Appreciate you guys. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend coming up. Enjoy some of that nicer weather that we might be getting.
Supposed to be not in the 90s.
Yes, we might get some rain too, which our scorched earth could totally use. So everybody out there, stay safe. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Y'all take care.
Toodaloo.